His Excellency President Chandrika Santoki and First Lady, the Honorable Edmund Hinkson, representative of Prime Minister Mia Mottley, Honorable Prime Minister, Vice President, members of the diplomatic community, Chancellor of the Judiciary, members of Cabinet, Chief Justice, heads of the joint services, distinguished invited guests, my brothers and sisters of Guyana. My first words must be of thanks. Thanks to Almighty God, who has guided us through adversity and challenges, helping us to overcome them and to stand here today as one people, one nation, one destiny. Thanks to my parents, my wife, son Zaid, my brother, grandparents, mother-in-law, members of my wider family, my teachers, neighbors, colleagues, and all those who played an integral role in my own development. Thanks to the member states of CARICOM and international community for keeping vigil with our nation over the last 5 months as we fought to hold high the flag of Guyana as a democratic state deserving of high regard. Some of those who stayed alert with us through those dark days are with us as a new dawn dispels the darkness of despair and shines a light of unbounded expectation on us today. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the resident diplomatic corps from the United Kingdom, Canada, the European Union, the United States, who so fearlessly defended our people's political rights. Thank you. Other organizations stood up with us, among them the Organization of American States, the Carter Center, and the Commonwealth Group of Nations. They were each outstanding in their own way, and in time, their names will form a lexicon of heroes of our nation. They were epitomized by one man who put our country before himself in his determination that democracy should never die in Guyana, nor should our people be deprived of their political rights. That man was Owen Seymour Arthur, the leader of the Commonwealth Elections Observer Mission and former Prime Minister of Barbados. But for his untimely and profoundly tragic death, Owen Arthur would have loved to be with us today. He was a true friend of Guyana, a man committed to justice and the rights of the people. I honor him today, and I call on all here assembled to stand up and join me in a moment of silence to this warrior in our cause, Owen Seymour Arthur. Thank you. I would also like to thank the chairwoman of GCOM for the role she played in ensuring we are here today in a democratic process. With a full heart, I thank the majority of the electorate of Guyana who reposed in me their confidence to serve as president of our beloved nation. I thank the leaders, supporters, volunteers, and members of my party, the PPP Civic, for their extraordinary support at the March 2nd poll. Their efforts and the PPPC's formation of the government will be transformed into a victory, not for them alone, but for all Guyanese who aspire to a vibrant nation that delivers benefit for all. To those of you who may not have supported me, I also thank you for your adherence to democracy and the rule of law. And I promise one and all, those who supported me and those who did not, that I will be the president for all the people of Guyana. And I will serve each of you with affection, without discrimination, and with every attention to fairness and equity. In my service to Guyana, I will not see a nation divided by ethnicity. I will see a nation cemented in unity. This land of Guyana is our common homeland. It is our common heritage. And every citizen within it is equal and will be treated equally. My story is similar to that of most of you. I came from humble beginnings, experiencing struggles, circumstances, and aspirations no different from yours. As president, I will have to walk with kings in our country's interests, but I assure you that I will never lose the common touch. My first and last responsibility will be to the people of Guyana, all of them. From this day forward, our one nation and our people must join together to peacefully transition our country to a pathway of economic and social development at home and respect and regard abroad. From this day forward, we must, each of us, become our brothers and sisters' keeper, ensuring that in our journey to progress and prosperity, no one is left behind. In this context, my government intends to fulfill the pledges in the manifesto in which we contested the March 2nd general and regional elections. Central to fulfilling those pledges will be the collaborative and consultative relationship with the private sector, labor, and many other stakeholders in our society. The private sector, whose commission was stalwart in insisting on a credible election result reflecting the will of the people. The private sector showed beyond any shadow of a doubt that they care about the political and social stability of our country and its prospect for economic prosperity. My government will work in partnership with all stakeholders, the private sector, to make Guyana a center for economic activity that will radiate throughout this hemisphere and beyond. We have already started to examine, from a fiscal perspective, the extent of support we can give to the various sectors to simulate a resumption of their economic activities, especially putting back to work people who have been dislodged because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In this regard, I now highlight some of the programs and projects that we will start to implement immediately to focus on wealth and job creation. We'll create a single window clearance system to reduce bureaucracy and costs of doing business. This will make it easier for local and foreign investors to start up and establish businesses in our economy that is forecast to grow by 52.8%, surpassing all 26 Latin American and Caribbean states. This huge projected growth has to do a lot with our oil and gas finds that promise recoverable petroleum resources estimated at more than 8 million barrels. We are conscious that the proceeds of this resource must be managed in a transparent way that will assure the people of Guyana that they will be the beneficiaries in a fair and equitable manner. That is why my government will establish the legal and regulatory foundation upon which a new modern economy will be built, striking a vital balance between our traditional sectors and the new and emerging industries, including oil and gas, technology, and communication. Our legislative agenda will create a regulatory framework to enhance sustainable productivity, but with a human face in an environmentally friendly manner. We will also establish a petroleum commission to ensure that the oil and gas sector is not subjected to undue political interference. More importantly, we will ensure that every cent of the revenues from the sector is accounted for, as well as every cent that is spent. There must be no doubt in your minds, in the minds of our people, that our country, our nation, our people are the beneficiaries of the oil and gas sector. To stimulate business enterprises, we'll reduce the cost of energy by at least 50% through a mix of hydro, gas, solar, wind, adding more than 400 megawatts of newly installed capacity over the next 5 years. High transportation costs will also be tackled through transformative investment like the Deepwater Harbor, the Linden to Lethem Road, a high-span bridge across the Demerara River, and other transformational infrastructure that will open up our economy and bring benefit, creating jobs for the people of Guyana. Our intention is to open up every part of our country and to join them up so that new opportunities are created for housing settlements and businesses, and to create and expand tourism and other services industries. We want to build a Guyana that is ripe with business opportunities, humming with employment expansion, and growing perennially in prosperity. To aid all this, we will scale up the provision of internet services across the country, empowering businesses and persons. We know that building physical infrastructure and creating the framework for prosperity is only one part of ensuring success. A vital part is training our people to take advantage of the opportunities and the framework. Our goal is to facilitate jobs for every Guyanese that want to work, not to provide them with the skills they need alone. That is why we invest in training and retraining our workforce so that they can stake their claim in our nation's prosperity. On this point, the workers of this country, the bedrock of our nation, have suffered untold hardship. Once proud men who worked in the sugar industry, bauxite industry, and other industries from sun up to sundown, never complaining about the back-breaking nature of their jobs, are today barely scratching a living. Their anguish is not only that they can't have a decent wage, but it is they cannot feed their families. These conditions do not reflect the Guyana we want, and we have to fix it, and fix it urgently. And it is certainly not a Guyana we should allow to continue. The sugar industry has virtually been abandoned in the last 5 years, and the workers have been deserted. No attempt has been made to seek a new path by which aspects of the industry could be salvaged for the production of profitable sugar and sugar-based niche products that would maintain jobs and, by doing so, maintain the dignity of labor. While we are putting together the torn fragments, the picture of the industry appears deeply distressing. The assets of Gaisuku seem to have been stripped by Nisil and disposed of. The once greatest contributor to our nation's economy has been beaten down to its knees, and the workers tossed to unemployment and misery. We intend to raise up the industry and to help it and its workers resume the once proud place in our economy. It is bad enough that I must draw your attention to other areas in our economy, including bauxite, rice, agriculture, forestry, mining. We have already commenced work on ensuring we do all that is necessary and possible within the constraints to put back these industry on the path of growth and development. Sadly, the workers bore the brunt of the incompetence, inefficiency, and irresponsibility. My government will dismantle the policies of the previous administration that created an environment completely unfavorable to workers. The people of this country must not be second and third-class citizens in their own land. Their rights and entitlements must be protected, or the struggle of our great labor leaders, Bahadur Singh, J.A. Nicholson, Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, and Ashton Chase would have been in vain. The new Ministry of Labor that we have just created will be tasked with the noble undertaking of creating work rewarding labor with adequate wages and of respecting the rights in every sector, every industry, and every business. We intend to give workers the place of pride they deserve and the rewards that they merit. This land is our land. Every Guyanese has a right to live in it, work in it, and thrive in it. Our Guyana must no longer be counted as one of the poorest nations in the Western Hemisphere. We must no longer be scorned or treated contemptuously anywhere in the world. We must welcome back to their homeland our diaspora who played such a positive and constructive role in defense of our democracy. They may live abroad, but their love remains in Guyana, as they passionately demonstrated over the last 5 months. My government intends to embrace Guyanese abroad as we enlist them here at home. The wealth of our country must reach the pockets of our people in a fair and equitable manner, so that we can climb on the mountaintop of prosperity, respected by all. Over the next 5 years, my government will build a ladder on which we will climb together as a nation to the mountaintop in unity and with dignity and pride. I'm conscious that while we are building our nation to give a better life to our current generation, we must also lay the foundation for future generations. That is why I've appointed many young persons into my cabinet. We'll chart the future, and they will have a strong hand in the future we chart. Additionally, I will establish a youth advisory policy committee in the coming weeks that will reflect our country's rich religious and ethnic diversity. The future is theirs. It is right that we, even now, they should help to shape it. In our manifesto, we pledge to pursue inclusionary constitutional governance. I intend to see that that pledge is implemented. To do so will require certain constitutional reforms, which will be formulated in consultation with the people. We'll conduct a national conversation in which all ideas will contend and all voices will be heard. And always, we will enhance parliamentary democracy, support an independent and efficient judiciary, and ensure that the rule of law and the constitutional rights of every Guyanese are respected by all. All of us are painfully aware of the trauma and anguish that our people endured over the last 5 months, as vigorous attempts were made to destroy our democratic credentials and deny the will of the electorate. All of us have an obligation to the nation and to ourselves to ensure that never again should any generation of our people be subjected to such unlawful behavior. Therefore, a review of events related to the electoral process over the last 5 months will begin shortly in order to determine forensically exactly what transpired and to hold accountable any person who sought to pervert and corrupt the system. More importantly, we will pursue the necessary reforms to make our democracy stronger and our electoral process more transparent. Part and parcel of a strong democracy is robust security. Every citizen, every home, every business place must feel safe from criminals and from crime. The air that we breathe in our beloved Guyana must be free from the stench of crime. Therefore, my government will strengthen the police force by providing it with the tools it needs to keep our people safe, including training, modern equipment, adequate vehicles, and a capacity for rapid response. Every life in our nation matters, and my government will ensure that every life is protected from harm. It is our duty and our responsibility, and we'll work towards this. The COVID-19 pandemic has already claimed too many lives. Everything possible must be done to protect our people from this dreadful and dreaded disease. That is why, as president, I will personally and urgently participate in my government's program to stop infection by the coronavirus, curb its spread, and safeguard the health of our nation. After completing a rapid assessment, I have already begun to establish a structure to tackle the virus as effectively as possible. We are creating a COVID response unit comprising of government policymakers, represented by the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health, and our regional and international partners such as CARICOM, PAHO, UNDP, and our private sector. We are dismantling the political intervention and structure and the bureaucracy, and we are putting it into the hands of policymakers who are capable and competent to deal with this issue. The unit will be guided by a collaborative policy to address medical responses and to create a COVID-19 impact socio-economic plan for our people. Since taking office in just 1 week, we have mobilized and received 46,000 rapid antibody test kits, personal protection equipment, approximately 240,000 surgical masks, face shields, gowns, and other urgently needed supplies. In addition to the rapid test kits, the Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Maya Motley, is sending us an additional 15,000 PCR test kits, which I'm informed came in with a delegation representing her. By next week, we should receive another 10,000 PCR test kits from PAHO with a commitment to supply an additional 40,000 PCR test kits. We have assessed 3 PCR testing machines and brought them into operation, with 2 more being sourced, and plans are in motion to train persons, including persons from the hinterland areas, in the use of the PCR machines and rapid test kits. We have commenced work on securing immediately an initial sum of $4.5 billion as emergency response to help at the household level. We met with the governor of the central bank and advised him to extend regulatory permission so as to allow for bankers to continue extending moratoriums. We have also looked at the possibility of adjusting the reserve requirement, which will allow the banks to have more disposable resources, and tying that adjustment with lower interest rates. We have started to examine from a fiscal perspective what support we can give to the private sector and other groups, all with a view of supporting a resumption of the economic activities and putting our people back to work. We have reached out to several multilateral and bilateral sources with a view to urgently mobilize financial resources of the magnitude that is necessary to overcome the effects of this pandemic. I must say, the response has been encouraging. As you can see, we have hit the ground running. We do not intend to slacken the pace. There is much to be done. We will have a nation, we still have a nation to build and a people to rise up. In pursuing this objective, we'll build closer partnerships with our CARICOM sister states and with the United States of America and Canada, which are our traditional partners, and the UK, and friends in this hemisphere, who have all done so much to help us preserve our democracy. Guyana was a founding member of CARICOM, and before it, CARIFTA. We remain faithful to the ambitions and expectations of the Caribbean community. We are grateful that CARICOM stood by our side in the recent electoral crisis. And the community defended democracy by scrutinizing the national recount of votes of the March 2nd elections, courageously and professionally. History will ever recall that singular role of regional solidarity. But we go further. As we look ahead to more prosperous times for Guyana, we also look to enhancing the objectives of the Caribbean community and the fortunes of all its people who are our brothers and sisters. We will play our role in CARICOM by joining our sister states in securing a more equitable place for the small states of the world and for developing countries generally. More particularly, we'll raise our voices in chorus with other CARICOM countries to combat the threat of climate change. Under our watch, CARICOM will not find Guyana lagging in our support for and our duty to the principles, policies, and pledges of regional integration. For your new government, there will be no policy more sacred than that relating to our borders. As Guyanese, all of us stood with the previous administration in defense of Guyana's patrimony. For us, Guyana's territorial integrity is never a matter for domestic division. It is always a matter for national cohesion. It was the PPPC government that secured our maritime border with Suriname under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in 2007. We settled that border, which has already opened the doors to offshore oil and gas development for both countries. In this connection, I especially welcome to this inaugural ceremony my brother, President Chandrika Santoki, our closest neighbors. I look forward to working closely with him in the interests of our two peoples and peoples of the wider Caribbean community. It was also a PPPC government in 2014 that put an end to the good offices dialogue with Venezuela, our neighbor to the west, because it has become for them a strategy of prolonging contention rather than of seeking solution. Therefore, the PPPC gave full support to the former administration when, as initiated by us, they submitted the Venezuela contention to the National Court of Justice. We shall not descend. The sovereignty of our state, the integrity of our territory, of both land and sea, is a sacred trust we must defend, and we will do so in collaboration with our partners and allies. In being faithful to that trust, we shall be loyal to our enduring vision of a Guyana as one indivisible. My brothers and sisters, we stand at the beginning of a road that could lead us all to a bright and prosperous future. A future that would take us to the famed El Dorado that eluded us in past generations. I assure you that we can take the road and march up it bravely, confident that we can find not only harmony as one people, but also prosperity as one nation. Our destiny can be a great country if a great country in which all who reside within it have the opportunity to achieve the means and to succeed. I pledge to you today, as your president, to work in your interests, all of you, without fear or favor, with great affection and no discrimination. This is our land, our collective homeland. We all love, and for which we want only the best. I offer you my hands of friendship, my hands of cooperation, my hands that is willing to hold all of Guyana, embrace all of Guyana as we charter the future together. Let us join as one people, one nation, in a single purpose to build our beloved country for the good of all. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless our dear land of Guyana.